had a lovely home. We did the best we could. Our children always had food, had clothes, the power was on, everything was fine. But also thinking for how hard we were working, the juice was not worth the squeeze. So going from the thought that making a six-figure salary would be enough, and it wasn't. Then as educated people, I also took on a side project as a coach, and I was coaching the cross-country team. That wasn't enough. So I started a separate business coaching marathon runners, and that wasn't enough. And then I started another wing of video production, and it wasn't enough. And to think that for two educated adults, bringing in ballpark $180,000 a year, and that wasn't enough. I want to work to live and not live to work. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Remy. I have relocated from Boston, originally from Haiti, now living here in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Welcome to my home, where I spend the majority of my time working remotely as a video production specialist and data specialist as well. IT consulting, the works. This is where we have landed, and I couldn't be happier. We'll do a quick walkthrough of the place, show you around, and let you know how and why we landed in Addis Ababa. Starting with the kitchen area, nothing too fancy. You know, I love having cold water on deck, so we gotta have that water machine, refrigerator, washing machine, which is couldn't live without it personally. With a family of four, you know, just that hand washing, not for me. We have our pantry where we keep all the other appliances, things like that, and surplus material. Coffee maker is absolutely essential, the most used accessory in this kitchen right here. Absolutely gotta have it. If you're in Ethiopia and not drinking coffee, you're missing the experience. Over here is the dining space. And you know, this fits for us. We don't entertain a whole lot here, but we do have some outdoor space that we can take a peek at later. This is where we're gonna have breakfast, we're gonna have dinner. Just on the other side of that is the family area where, you know, we'll get together for family movie night, maybe play some games here and there with my kids, just kind of hang out and have that cozy vibe. So we haven't, it's not the largest space, but we make do with what this is because somebody had to get their home office set up on the other side. I'll even take you a step before that, because prior to getting here, I did not, pardon my ignorance, I did not know a whole lot about Ethiopia. And I'll excuse my friends who, you know, ask like, do you have running water? Do you have, you know, all this? And I was lucky enough to meet some other creators in Ethiopia and, you know, ask them some frank questions, and I looked at their videos and I started to piece together, there's this area here, Arat Kilo. And the very first time I saw that in the video, that was all I needed to see. You know, I saw the modern buildings, I saw the EVs, and I'm like, this isn't the narrative that I've been sold. And getting off the plane, the very, you know, going through customs, coming out and seeing the city lit up at night. Oh my goodness, it was beautiful. You know, just seeing that display of, you could confuse it for being outside of Times Square, outside of Vegas, but that's not what a lot of folks would associate with Ethiopia, with an African nation. So that memory is still very vivid with me. I have visitors, my sister is visiting now, and she's seen the videos that I make, so she knows, but also experienced it in person, and, you know, actually putting your eyes on it, touching it, and smelling the eucalyptus trees, and being up in the mountains, and contrast that with being in the city and seeing, you know, not for nothing, it is a developing nation, so not everything is finished, but hey, here's the direction that it's coming. But that first impression, even before I landed, I had a thought, and then confirming when I got here. I went for a bike ride around the city, And it's like, man, they got cafes and Wi-Fi. This place is fantastic. What are y'all talking about? You just got to come and see it. Or maybe don't. Let it be a hidden gem for the rest of us to enjoy. That's on you. But it's definitely going to, it has made a place in my heart for sure. Out here is one of two balconies where I've got my lovely plants out here, easy to maintain with all this sun. Had to have the grill out here. Some things you just had to bring with you from the US, and grilling meats, some really good options out here. So I'll grill on the weekends, almost every weekend, to take care of that. Come out here and sip my coffee, really relax, and sometimes watch the sunset. It's a good place to be. Back inside, a little library for my kids, but this is where you can find me if you're ever looking. This is where I'm sat. My coffee will rest here, plenty of water, and get stuck in. Like I said, I'm a video production specialist, which really means I have clients from all over the world that will send me their files, and I turn their raw video into a produced content for YouTube, for Instagram. I'm sure I was working on something just a little earlier, but always editing. Yeah, always cutting video, always working on something, whether that's for my own content or any of my clients, and that's really what helps me finance this lifestyle, if you would. It's quite lovely. I keep all my gear tucked in here, RGB lights, everything, and a couple of reminders. Before I was living this life, working as a data specialist in the US, I was very involved in endurance sports, so I've done several half Ironmans, several world major marathons. That was just something that really lights me up. So just a little gentle reminder, I'm not in competition shape right now, but we do keep those reminders and still like to get out and swim, bike, run whenever I can in the beautiful weather out here. It was fine. It was fine because I hadn't had the taste of different. Even being born in Haiti, I effectively grew up in Boston since I've been there since I was 5. And it was fine. You just get surrounded with, this is what I know, especially that East Coast hustle mentality. We were comfortable middle class, but year over year, there were definitely more concessions and more restrictions, things that we used to be able to do that we gotta, and it was a lot of the little things, especially as homeowners, where, oh my goodness, how much is it gonna take to redo the roof? And then you need new windows, and then, all these other things. And it just started adding up. It was not miserable by any means, but I do genuinely feel that no place has a monopoly on happipiness. And looking back at it now, there were a lot of things that I can admit that we settled for. A lot of things that, okay, well, it's all right. And no shade if that's your life, no shade if that's where you are. But once we got to the other side, it's like a person doesn't know how starved for oxygen they were until they had fresh air. We didn't know how thirsty we were until we had enough to drink. And that's how I'm feeling absolutely once we made the decision, once we arrived. It was your typical life. I worked sometimes from home, sometimes I would go in the office as a data specialist. My wife was a speech pathologist, and she would work at the schools. But we had an inflection point, especially raising our children, that there was a period of time where it made more sense for her to not work. All right, like she's educated woman with a master's degree, but it made more sense because of the cost of childcare and all these other things. It made more sense for her to stay at home, because what we would pay in childcare to have somebody else raising our kids would be equivalent to the salary that she was bringing home. And that part was hard. So when we take that into its totality, that, there has to be a better way. And then even extrapolating that out to what the next couple of years would look like. So it went from, okay, she could happily stay at home and be home with the kids, and that was great for a number of years. But as cost of living continued to rise, okay, you're gonna have to return to the workforce. Well, what does that look like? And then after school care for the kids and all those other expenses. Not to say that this was a purely financial decision, but I would be lying to you if I didn't say that we ran a lot of numbers and it wasn't adding up. Back around this way is, we have the laundry room over here. Now we are blessed to have the privilege to hire help. So we do have a helper who comes in 5 days a week and takes care of all of that. So we've got the washer running right now. No dryer because we got the sun. It is what it is. This is one of 2 bathrooms, really our kids' bathroom. And you've got the shower, everything set up over here. Something that I had never used until I got to Ethiopia. Shout out if you know what that is right there. But absolutely a game changer. Get yourself one. One of 2 bedrooms, they're identical, so you only need to see one. This is my son's room, decorated just the way he likes it. He's got his little desk area. He's 6, he doesn't really need a desk, but he has it if he wants to sit up there, do some arts and crafts, play some games, do some reading, things like that. Just a comfortable space for him, and my daughter's room mirrors it on the other side. Then through here, where the magic happens. I've always wanted to say that. The master bedroom, and nothing too special. Second office area, my wife will from time to time get some work done as well. So if she needs to take some work home with her, she is a speech pathologist here at the international school, one of the international schools. And if she ever needs to take something home, she has her MacBook here, just flip it up, get some work done. Take you out to the other place you can find me. On the second balcony, where, again, can hang out here if it's just the 2 of us, have a little quiet chat, but also got my bike set up on the trainer. I'd set up my laptop over here for virtual cycling. As much as I love riding out on the road, I'm living in a city now, so it gets a little, the traffic gets a little heavy, so I ride my bike for hours in place going nowhere, but that's still one of my passions. And to round it off, we have, his and hers closets, my wife's and mine over here, ample storage up top, plus a storage facility down on the ground floor. All this, marble and finish. I mean, was blown away when I saw the mock-ups that this stuff is real fancy, and I couldn't even imagine. There's no way that on our salary this would have been attainable in the city in Boston, but here we are doing it quite comfortably and thankful for it.
Hey Web Nation family, for years we've been sharing stories of diasporans who have relocated from the diaspora and currently living here on the continent of Africa. You guys have been enjoying the episode, saying in the comment section that you want this to be you one day. Why don't we just bring that time to now? We are inviting you to come on a trip with us to South Africa in November 2026. This is going to be an 11-day experience of we visiting cities like Cape Town, Johannesburg. We having experiences like going to the wine lands and actually experiencing South Africa, the people, the food. This is not just a vacation. This is a very well detailed experience that gives you the proper insight on people interested in relocating. The beautiful part about this is we've made it easy for you to come on this trip with us. By you just making the deposit, you get to pay the rest in installment and get yourself on a trip with us to South Africa. Scan the QR code, secure a spot, and see you in South Africa. Now guys, let's get back into the video.
I'll tell you this, it's drastically different. Our money goes a lot further than I would have ever imagined. So I'm gonna give you some roundabout numbers because I don't have the exact figures in front of me, but our mortgage still is, we still own our home outside of Boston. Our mortgage is $1,800 US a month. Okay, is that right? Maybe 1,500, excuse me. Our mortgage is 1,500 US a month. And from there, we'll have another 500 in bills between electricity, gas, sewage, water, all those other things, insurance for the car, life insurance, this and that, we're putting towards so easily 2,000 just in those. And I'm sure I'm underestimating, honestly. It's probably more than that, but we'll stick with 2,000 just for the housing. And then we were spending, gosh, maybe $200 a week on groceries every week, and that number has continued to climb where, once upon a time it was maybe 120 when it was just the two of us, then 180, and then 200, 220, it keeps climbing. Then just other upkeep of the house and other things that we would always have to do. There was always a project. Every year there was a major house project, whether that was the roof, it was the stairs, so all of these things continue to add up where that would have to be a priority versus now, as you can see, we live in an apartment. So you would think, well, how does it make sense to downsize from, the American dream, you've got the house, you've got the yard, and blah, blah, blah. Turns out we don't need it. Those were things that we would turn to and look towards as, well, at least I have this and that. We have 2 cars in the garage. We have 0 car now because we don't need it. So take that expense off, the insurance, the gas, all of that. I can tell you roundabout, an apartment like this, I've looked in the Addis area, would probably cost you around $1,200 or so. So a modern apartment like this would not be cheap, but again, as part of the conditions of my wife's contract, that is provided. So we are blessed in that way. Takes an immediate pressure off of so many things, which then puts money back in our pockets to trade stuff for experiences. We were spending so much on the upkeep, the redoing the bathrooms, redoing the kitchen. Again, just the rat race of home ownership stuff. And we did all that, and if that's you, for sure. But now coming from that position where we are still homeowners and we have tenants, and that is a source of income. So that alone, the rent that our tenants pay covers, which, we rent our place out for $3,000, and that covers the mortgage, covers the upkeep, and so many other things before we even look into our salary. That covers the tuition for our kids to go to a fantastic school. The only language that was really even spoken in schools, you're lucky if you get to have a Spanish curriculum in the town we are in. Other towns are different. But now in the 1st and 3rd grade, my kids are learning robotics. They're doing stop motion. They're learning Amharic, the local language. They're taking French, which speaks to me because now I can speak some French Creole with my kids more frequently. They're getting an education that we would have had to pay we just couldn't afford. Let's just leave it at that. They're getting an education that we could not afford at a private school in the US here much more comfortably. I can't even try to compare it. As far as other things, so if groceries in the US was $200 a week, we're paying, I kid you not, because I tally it up every week, $60 US a week. So every Monday, I'll take out 10,000 Ethiopian birr, and the number fluctuates of what it converts to, but that's around $80 plus or minus USD, and we'll give that to our house helper, and she will take care of the groceries and, other things that we need. And often, here's a little back to put back in your pocket, which also frees us up. We pay her a flat 207 US, because as the currency fluctuates, she'll be okay. And for that, that's what folks would pay to have maybe a service twice a month to come by and take care of their apartment. She works with us 5 days a week. And before you think of any how could you say outside of the US, this is a regular job. My sister in Haiti has a house helper, all right? So some of these things that sound like luxuries in the West are actually just common and respected ways of life. It's a good job in a lot of countries, Au pairs, it's a good job in a lot of countries. So to be able to have that help and be in a position where we can afford it, that frees us up so much more. Buddy, we got small kids, and I can date my wife again. Which is something really important, So we don't have to go out of our way to vet a good babysitter. No, we have somebody who's in our home regularly that we trust, that they trust, that, hey, Friday night, we're gonna go out and have dinner and some dancing. Go ahead. Oh my goodness, here's something we gotta go do. I keep talking about the numbers, but the quality and the relief you feel, I'm happy to pay what I pay, but also happy to give bonuses to our helper on high holidays and things like that and giving her time off. Happy to tip very well. It's not generally a tipping culture, but when I do go out, right, going out to eat was not a thing that we did. Because again, frankly, for a family of 4, we just couldn't afford it. It just wasn't in our reality. Ask me about a good restaurant to have dinner at in our old neighborhood in Boston, outside of Boston, couldn't tell you. Here, I can throw you a stone. I've taken my sister and brother-in-law out several times, and they are blown away that, wait, hold on, did the 7 of us just have a lovely dinner for 50 USD? That's crazy. But it's part of, that lifestyle that we are now able to enjoy. Not to say that we are out gallivanting all over the place and having luxurious dinners. We still, stay within our means and saving for the future and everything, but knowing that it is an option. We can treat somebody to a dinner. We can go out and have a cafe, be at a cafe. I think about over the summer, I was in the US and seeing what has changed, have I changed, what's different, and working remotely. I go into a cafe, I sit down, and I can't get out of that cafe. If I'm gonna work there for a day, that's $50. By the time you've had, a coffee, a water, maybe a bagel, and then a lunch, $50. I can be at a cafe here, work all day, and have 2 coffees, have a water, have lunch, have a little breakfast for $10 US. Well, then I'm gonna tip you well, knowing that I am in a position to take care of you, because the cycle, the universe is going to take care of itself. So, the lifestyle hasn't changed that much. I will say, though, we're in a place where we can consider vacations like we've never been able to. We went to Tanzania last spring, and that felt like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, except we're going to Morocco and then Cairo in December. And having the ability to see this wonderful continent and explore more is just the icing on the cake. Yeah, something that I ignorantly did not recognize as far as working here. My wife is here on a work visa, and I now have a resident status, which is great. However, I could not just go down to a local business and apply to, provide IT services or consult, whatever, because, and I respect it, they would rather employ their own, right? Addis Ababa University is a fantastic school. You have, lots of great technicians and doctors, and so don't come and take our jobs. We have that. So on the flip side, once I recognized that, I came here already starting my business, already with a base of clientele, but then quickly realizing I was trying to make a square peg fit in a round hole. And by that I mean not everything was lining up. I was trying to take my same work ethic, same everything, and make it fit into this lifestyle. And there were a lot of conflicts. I met another gentleman who tried to do the same, and he said, you're going to be jet lagged without going anywhere because of the time difference. So how that has shifted is being a little bit more picky in my clientele. So I primarily work now in video production services. I also did a bit of IT consulting. And even then, I still had clients on the East Coast of the United States. I was virtually coaching people all over the United States. And what are we doing? You know, with the time zone and all that, I was up all day, living a regular life, being a parent and doing what I could here. But then I would be jumping on a meeting at 7 p.m. local time to touch base with a company in the East Coast. And then another meeting at 11, and then I'm going to bed by midnight to wake up at 5 a.m. You know, if you got young kids, they wake up early. I'm up again at 5 a.m. This had to change. Again, thankfully, we've had a role reversal where previously my wife was the primary caretaker, and we leaned on my income. And now we're in a position where she is the primary earner and I am the primary caretaker. So I am generally on call to take care of the kids and things. But with that has given me the freedom to curtail my business and how I want to operate. Okay, let me be a little bit more selective and choose clients in a time zone or seek clients in a time zone that works a little bit better. I now do video production for a couple of local companies here, some tourism and travel companies. I handle some promotional material for them. Same for athletics departments and things like that. So I will do all of that from filming, editing, top to bottom production, which is something that had to be the afterthought because I had to stay in my data specialist job because that was what was the primary income. So despite my passion being in video production, I had to stay at my desk job because that provided the insurance, that provided all the other things. Now having the ability to say, okay, well, healthcare is way more affordable, so I actually don't need all those other things that would come with that kind of desk job. Certain things are provided from my wife's contract, and even though, again, we're earning considerably less than we did, it goes so much further though. So we're never really pressed about the work. I'll keep repeating it. Now we work to live and don't live to work. We don't have to continuously, grind and more. So if there's a season where, we want to travel and take a trip, okay, I can scale back my production. But again, that is a privileged place to be, to have a skill set, to have the knowledge, to have the equipment to be able to do that. So definitely if you are considering Ethiopia, know that you are gonna have a hard time just coming in and applying for local jobs here because they will always prefer to hire a native Ethiopian before they even look. I don't think they'll give out the work visa unless you are sponsored prior to making the move. Building a life here and making the transition and getting settled in, finding a home, all of that happened the way it needed to happen. I will say this, my wife's employer was very good at setting us up with an apartment and kind of pointing us in the right direction. So a lot of that, thankfully, was landing and getting settled was not that difficult, but then navigating the systems, because yes, they'll help you get started, but at some point you gotta go out and do it on your own. So that process, starting with just even taking care of some of the initial problems that we had in this home, something big for me was power. I work remotely and I use a desktop, so the power goes out. Okay, I need a backup power supply. Where do I get that? Where can I even go? So making those connections, talking to people, and then eventually pointing me in the right direction. And I feel like those friendships happen fast and tight because a lot of folks who are also not from here know what the experience is like, and they want to make sure that your transition is as smooth as possible. And from there, also just being out and about, trying best I can. People are so friendly, and just meeting folks, whether that's cycling, friends of friends, meeting folks at the cafe. I try to be as friendly and welcoming. It is still incredibly difficult with the language, but one day at a time, you meet somebody who introduces you to somebody, you learn a couple of more phrases. I haven't made as many local connections as I would like to. And I see some of that is a cultural difference where, folks aren't necessarily, I don't even know how to say, because I'll see folks, I'll go out and I'll see people, at the bar watching the football matches and things like that. And I want to engage, admitting that they speak way better English than I speak Amharic, but we'll run into some of those little differences. As far as like building a life, man, one of the bigger things that we started to embrace in being here is not just for me and my wife, but for our children, that they can see people who look like them normalized and in positions of power. It's not just like you're seeing the black and brown folk working in the kitchen. You're not just seeing them doing the manual labor and stuff like that. No, these are the business owners. Like you go down the street and it's not like, we are not the minority. And there was just something about that immediately gave us all a sigh of relief. I know the names that I had been called growing up in Boston. I know the experiences I had, and I'm not going to pretend that any place is perfect or colorism doesn't exist and there aren't tribal factions and legacies of different things. That said, just being here and looking out there and knowing, hey, this guy wearing a shirt and tie is not on his way to court. He is, or if he is actually a lawyer. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this person is not just the help. They are, everybody black. Everybody's black and brown. That's running stuff. And they're the folks that are welcome into the shops. So just having that experience and seeing what is available, that's what kind of grounds us here. Because, like you said, there are challenges. It's not a perfect place. But considering what we experienced before and what we're experiencing now, yeah, I'll take these challenges any day. Yeah, the value is a big thing, and I'll even take that in another direction. I think even more about quality and value for dollar, and just the goods and services that we're able to get here. I speak in anecdotes, so I'll tell you a quick story. I got here and I worked from home and I needed a proper desk for my workstation, and I couldn't find it. So, okay, and looking here and looking there, I was lucky enough to meet a carpenter who, we'll go out, we'll buy some wood, we'll make it exactly to the design that you want, the specifications, exactly blah, 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 blah. And for a desk that I have seen no equal to, not exactly, it is a one of one, to have a custom-made sit-stand rising desk for $300. For some, that might seem exorbitant, and for others, if you know, that is a bargain and a half. And just the ability to have all our needs met and save a considerable amount. Now, some of the challenges are, we are in Ethiopia. We spoke about some challenges before, but the commerce and the goods and services that are available, it's not always here. Certain things have to be imported that come at a markup. So whenever we do travel, we feel that like, okay, well, we've saved a bit the last 5-6 months. So when you go to Dubai, let's buy a couple of things and this and that to bring back to fill out our home. Or, hey, if you're going to Kenya, where there is more availability of things, we'll do some shopping there. That's not to say there isn't good craftsmanship here. The leather work is amazing. I took my sister out yesterday to buy gold, and the lowest quality gold they have on offer is 21 karat. Stop and think about that for a sec. You know, you're not gonna find 18 karat, you're not gonna find anything less than 21 karat gold. So there's, well, what is it that you value? What are you willing to spend? And my perspective has changed into, well, what is the money for, right? So I was in a situation where I made plenty of money. We as a household earned a lot of money, I would think, but so much of it had to go back into bills and healthcare and other things. And now we're in a position where that money goes so much further. So what's it for? If our basic needs are met, and we're not the type to, go out flaunting and stunting and buying stuff just for the sake of buying stuff, what's the money for? Sure, save for the future and this and that, but what else? So I have a very different outlook on money and savings, and to the point, value. What is it that we actually value? We're trading stuff for experiences. That's what we will remember. Clearing out a house and a garage just full of stuff. We accumulated so much stuff living in the West. For what? We're so happy with an eighth of what we used to have. Changes your perspective, man. Power. That was a big one right away. I was told, but I didn't realize how frequent the power outages would be. And again, pardon my ignorance, but I thought the language barrier would be a little easier to navigate. I was of the thought that Swahili was more ubiquitous throughout African nations. So in the 2 months leading up, I was brushing up on my Swahili, only to find out that maybe 2 weeks prior that no, the language is Amharic, which I had never heard of, and it's a tough language to get a grasp of. And just even some cultural things, I talked to some folks just to learn about what hand signals are okay, what things are taboo, just to make sure I don't accidentally offend anyone. And I think a really jarring thing, there are a lot of similarities. I keep going back and forth to this, that I see a lot of similarities here to what I've experienced growing up in Haiti and visiting Haiti as an adult, that you will have extreme wealth and extreme poverty side by side living in harmony, which is very different from what I had gotten accustomed to in the US, where, if you go to that part of town, it's going to be like this. If you go to that part of town, it's going to be like that. Versus here, you can leave a very high-end shopping mall, folks with their luxury cars and all sorts of things. There's gold and all the goods. Turn a corner and, yep, it's a hole in the ground. That's the facilities we use, and we've got tin walls and everything. So it's one thing to know it academically, and then another thing to be in it, and it's your day-to-day. Like I said, being from Haiti, it wasn't completely, oh my gosh, this doesn't make any, no, not completely, but it was one of the shocks. Some other things, they've progressed. As we were getting here, the centralized system, Teleber, it's kind of like WeChat that they use in China, that here's a centralized app that you can transfer money around. Outside of that though, cash. And I am not used to carrying so much paper money on hand, but it's again, just a little thing that's jarring, navigating different things. And the time is another big one. It is a far more relaxed culture, which is great. I need to remember that, but a lot of times, folks will, things start a lot later here than I was accustomed to. If we go out to partake in some nightlife, if you're getting in at like 11, and that just might be age, maybe if I came here when I was 22, it'd be different. But a lot of the clubs and stuff don't really get started until like 1 a.m. And that's late for you, boy. But also the punctuality, I'll say, folks will come in around 10, and that might have an hour or so sliding scale, you know what I mean? So it was definitely an adjustment to understand that, oh, okay, which I felt some of it even leaving the East Coast and being in the Southwest of the US, but it is just part of the fabric that, hey, you might pull up and the shop's just closed today. Here's another big one that just reminded me. Another big one is access to information. Not every business is even listed on Google Maps. Not every business will have a website. It's all about connections and who you know. You need to speak to someone. So lucky to be in this community where there are enough people who have been here and, oh yeah, I can point you to a good dentist. Versus I would just look it up online and like, blah, blah, blah. So there's some pros and cons to that, I feel, where it does force you to speak to your neighbor. It does force you to have a conversation and engage in dialogue and build relationships and not just, put your headphones on, walk down the street, I'm following that on Google Maps and da-da-da. Like, nope, some of these streets are not even listed and located. So there's more of a leaning on your community. Even transportation, I don't own a car here. I know there's a train system, I've seen the buses, but without a firm command of the language, getting around can be difficult. Thankfully, I can walk most places, and there is Ride is the app, basically like Uber in a lot of other countries, so you can do that. But even with that, I find that it's 50-50, maybe even 70-30% chance that the driver will use GPS. So they have a different way of navigating by landmarks, and not knowing all the landmarks, I've been here a little over a year now. So there are some places that I know and I can get around, but if I'm going to a new place, like I said before, I'm gonna take a buddy with me. I'm gonna befriend somebody who speaks the language and, hey, when can you make time to go with me and this and that? And instead of the complete independence, I'm gonna get up and go myself and da-da-da, not quite there yet. I'm learning some phrases, I'm learning more of the language, but we're not quite fully independent to just get around and navigate solo. Man, like you wouldn't believe, I feel so accepted and welcome. It was alarming at first. But it's lovely to a degree, right? Because now folks will look at me and know I am not Ethiopian, and that's fine. But it's never well, you don't belong. It's, oh, brother, welcome. So they can see that you're a foreigner. But until I start speaking, folks will think that, is this guy Nigerian? Is this guy Ghanaian? I generally wear brighter colors than this, and so it's like, yeah, we're all of the diaspora, right? So it's very welcoming, being mindful of certain things in the culture. Not everything in the culture I 100% agree with. It is a patriarchal society, and I have a daughter, I have sisters. I don't 100% jive with that. But I have yet to experience or witness anything of high disrespect. Also seeing how much religion plays into the daily fabric of the local people, and that's whether you are Orthodox Christian or you are Muslim. Seeing those folks living in harmony, first off, amazing. That's not something that I had freely experienced in the US. Generally, folks would stay within their little sects and little cliques in parts of town. But just knowing that, like, oh, I can go to the Muslim place on this day, and on the fasting days, that was a culture shock. finding out that these folks love some Jesus, I'll tell you that right now. There is a lot of fasting for the sad days. Every Wednesday, every Friday, year round, fasting. And I only recently found out that those were the days that Jesus was brought when the crusade started, and the day that he was actually crucified. So it happened on a Wednesday and the other event happened on a Friday. Fact check me, but this is what I've recently learned, and that's the history of fasting every Wednesday, every Friday, as well as other seasons of fasting. Okay, well, what does that exactly mean? And then I'm learning, oh, okay, we don't eat meat, there's no dairy, there's no all these other things, which I was a vegetarian prior to coming here. Pardon my ignorance, again, I was a vegetarian for 8 years before coming here, and knowing that I wanted to engage in the culture. And I'd heard about tib shakla, and I just really wanted to try all this stuff and experience all the flavors and all the food. So you know what? I'm gonna put that inside so I can fully embrace in the culture. The music, it's a sound that I couldn't even replicate. It's very uniquely, once you hear it, it is uniquely Ethiopian. Some of my music production folks, they know, oh, it's a regular sound signature, but to my untrained ears, once you hear it, and there's the dance. I'm a Caribbean boy, so we dance with our hips, baby. We kind of really get loose. And I see these folks, they dance with their neck and shoulders. So that was a little bit of a difference to see. And just the traditional clothes that are worn, their love for church, just every Sunday, also, and it's all times of night, all hours. And I respect it, because I'll hear the church sirens and the hymns being sung. I could be up here, and if there's a church service going around, you'll know about it. So even with all that, to dispel some of the things that I had heard, oh, that might be dangerous, be careful when you go out. I can't connect a people who are so ingrained with their religion and what I see day to day, also committing, the crimes that are sensationalized that you might hear about in other regions. Obviously, crimes of opportunity happen, right? Like, if you leave your phone unattended over here, yeah, it might walk away. And I think that's just a sign of, as I said before, you'll have extreme poverty and extreme wealth living side by side. These are symptoms, it's not the root cause. But knowing that on the day-to-day, I experience so much love and so many smiles and so many, hey brother, da da da. I think part of that is knowing that, okay, I can tell you're wearing shorts in Ethiopia, you've got to be a Westerner, I dress differently, I speak differently, but that withstanding, they still want me to check out my shop, come over here, try this food. There's a tradition, gushna, where as a sign of friendship and respect, you will feed another person. And okay, sounds good. I had maybe been here a week, maybe 2 weeks, and the fasting season had just ended. I went down to one of the local restaurants and everybody was, having a good time because they get to break their fast. And I got to talking to the guys next to me, and Kushna, a grown man, fed me raw meat, which is another thing culturally, the raw meat. I don't know, there were a lot of things, and I think I'm just the open and welcoming personality type that, okay, I'm ready to try it. I didn't come all this way to live exactly how I lived back there. If I wanted to eat mac and cheese and pasta, I could have stayed in the US. I'm here for shiro. I'm here for gomen. I'm here to have the injera and really get into the culture and have an experience. And something a friend of mine who's traveled way more had said that, let's say you move on and your travels take you somewhere else. You don't want to look back, and when somebody asks you, well, hey, what was your experience in Ethiopia? And have it line up with exactly the same stuff that I did in Boston. If that's you, that's fine. But for me and my taste, I want to absolutely know that this place leaves an imprint on me, and I've had some dynamic experiences that I could only have in Addis Ababa. I'll say it's evolved me. Change is good, but evolution is better. I'm a big believer in personal growth, in the things that we have to do for ourselves, and your environment can't change it, your partner can't change it, your kid, your work, none of that can change. You have to look inward. Having the time, having the ability, the privilege to slow down a beat and take in this mountain air, that's an evolution. Something that I used to, was a core part of my identity, was racing and competing in marathons and triathlons. And that's still there, but I think about the hours that I sacrificed, the hours that I was away from my family in training. And it was partly a journey that started after my injury and recovery and all of that. I seeked out some therapy because I was in a dark place. And that started the process of opening me up. And now that I'm here, and I see, just even looking at the athleticism part, I see folks wearing, torn jeans and leather shoes with a hole in it, running up this mountain faster than I could ever run in my prime. I got to go out riding with a guy, a bike that you could tell that he lovingly takes care of, put together. Whereas in the West, well, if you didn't have, the latest and upgrade your components and this and that, well, it was holding you back in competition. And I'll tell you, there was nothing holding this young man back at all, So it gave me an evolution of how I look at things, not just here, but when I go back. I visit the US. We went back last Christmas. We spent a good portion of last summer in the US. And I just saw the excess, things that I used to enjoy, and I still enjoy, but I'm like, wow, why's the yard gotta be so big? Oh, you just keep that sprinkler on all day? Coming to the recognition that the water that we throw out as unusable is water that folks spin the globe anywhere would happily have to bathe, to wash their clothes in. And that was, no thanks. So it's evolved my thinking, the way I look at finances. It's evolved how I maintain relationships. It's just making such a move to think, in this day and age, what a time to be alive, where it's never been easier to keep in touch and communicate. Yet there has been folks that I called friends who, once I've made this move, you just don't hear from them anymore. At the same time, there are people that, hey, we have a whole lot more in common now, that have become better friends. And not for nothing, the folks that I am still very connected to, our bond has deepened, because we do make the time, take a look at whatever app to see what time it is in our respective time zones, and figure out that, hey, before you go to bed is before I start my workday, so we can have a quick 5-minute phone call check-in. When you're having lunch is when we're having breakfast, so we can call and say hello. It just evolved all of these things. It's made our world smaller in a way, knowing that, wow, our kids are meeting people not just from Ethiopia, but this being the capital city and the capital of Africa, we're meeting people from all over the place, some of them with diplomatic connections and others without, but folks come from far and wide to be here. And no one is just from the small town and this is all I know because that's what my mama knew, that's what my grandmama know. No, so many folks are broadening our horizons and forcing us to learn and changing the way we do things and moving forward. I don't think I can stop with that growth. Once you see it, there is no going back. There's just no going back. If you're considering it, and chances are, if you're even seeing this, that's already, in your mind space. The things that you think are important now are not the things that will continue to be important. That's the first thing that we quickly recognized. Sharing a personal story, we were very concerned, coming here and hearing about the air quality. Candidly, my son has or had a respiratory issue. And we're thinking, well, if this is the case, living in Boston, where we have the best medical care, what would it look like if we are out here and his O2 levels drop? Turns out, that being something that was very front of mind, the altitude is so high here, there are no dust mites, the allergens are different, and he is breathing so much better than he ever was in Boston. So all that to say, the worries and troubles that you have in the US, try your best to not project that on anywhere else that you might land, whether that is in Ethiopia, whether that's in Ghana, in Cameroon, wherever you may be interested in going. It's a different lifestyle and you must adjust. Come in with open eyes and open heart, because so many things will be different. Like I said, I came here and tried to fit that square peg in this round hole, and for the first 3 months, it was a struggle. Once I opened up and started to accept the place for what it is, the good and the bad, knowing the challenges and learning how to navigate them. They are challenges unique to the place. Try to leave some of that stuff behind. Don't forget it, don't completely run away from it. I take my culture with me everywhere. I'm proudly Haitian. I take that with me and wear it on my back anywhere I go. So you don't have to leave it behind, but you can evolve it to include a new way and see what else the world has to offer. No place has a monopoly on happiness. No place is ever going to be perfect. And if you keep those things in mind, you can still find happiness in the US, but you'll find that happiness, I feel, a little easier once you remove some of the external pressures and factors. Go. Just go. First off, get a passport. I was shocked to find out how many folks in the US don't have a passport, so they don't even have the opportunity to go. So make that step one. Get your passport and go. Put your pennies together, reach out if you've got a friend somewhere, if you've got a agency, even if it's a once in a lifetime opportunity, just go. And don't just go thinking that I'm gonna do 3-4 days. Like, give yourself a chance, a real opportunity to see what it's like. I would recommend 2 weeks, and I know that may not be financially feasible right now, but make that a goal. Get your passport and go.